Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So welcome back to my channel The Education Planet. I'm back again with a brand new video, which is the part 2 of the topic which we started in the previous video, and that is the human body control and coordination, that is the nervous system part 2. In this particular video we'll be discussing about the nerve cell or the neuron in detail. So stay tuned and watch the video till the very end. Okay, so a nerve cell. As I already told you and gave you an overview about a neuron or a nerve cell, so we'll be discussing about that in detail in this video. Okay, so a neuron is the structural and the functional unit of the nervous system. What do you understand by structural and the functional unit of the nervous system? Yeah, you guessed it right. Structural and the functional unit of the nervous system basically means that the structure of the nervous system and the functions performed by the nervous system are held or are performed with the help of the neuron. It is the base thing, it is the most important thing which is there in the nervous system. Okay, so a neuron is basically the structural and the functional unit of the nervous system. It is made up of cells which are called the cyton and elongated projections called the axon. And the cell body consists of cytoplasm and the nucleus. It gives out branched cytoplasmic projections which are called the dendrites for receiving stimulus and transmitting nerve impulse to the cyton. In the previous video we already learned that what is stimulus basically. So a change in the environment to which an organism react is called the stimulus. Okay. So the nervous system is control system which is responsible for sending electrical messages called the nerve impulses, we already know, throughout our body. And these nerve impulses are sent by specialized cells which are called the neurons or the nerve cells. Okay. So first let's discuss about cell body, which is the cyton. Cell body is also called cyton. This cell body is also called cyton. Okay, so cell body or cyton. We know that cell body is also known as cyton. The other name for cell body is cyton. So what is cyton? The central body of the neuron that contains the cytoplasm and a centrally placed nucleus is called the cell body or cyton. Okay, like in the picture here you can see this picture. There is some orangish part, circular orangish part here. This is actually the cytoplasm which is present in the cell body. Consider, because neuron is a cell, and cytoplasm, nucleus, all these are the important components of the cell. Okay, so this is basically the cytoplasm, and the pinkish small little pinkish part is the nucleus which is present in the neuron. Got it? Okay, so now dendrites. Now we can see that these small projection sort of things like these short cytoplasmic extensions which are called the dendrons. We'll say them dendrons. Okay, what are dendrons? Short cytoplasmic extensions, they are called the dendrons. They arise from the cell body. They are extensions which arise from the cell body. Like we can see that how are they arising from the cell body? They are attached to the cell body and are arising as extensions. So short cytoplasmic extensions are called the dendrons, and they arise from the cell body, and they branch repeatedly and project outwards to form dendrites. They project repeatedly and they form this sort of structure, like this. So this is basically called the dendrites. These are called the, let me use some other color. They are called the dendrites. They are called the dendrites. Is that okay? Okay. So the dendrites, what are their responsibilities? What are their functions? Why are these projections present here? Okay, so let me tell you. The dendrites receive nerve impulses from another neuron. What they do is they receive nerve impulses from the other neuron. Their function is to receive nerve impulses like from one neuron to the other, they receive the, like one neuron is connected to the other neuron and they receive nerve impulses because they're extensions which extend. So they receive nerve impulses from another neuron and transmit them towards the cell body. Like for example, let me give you an example, let me show you how this takes place. Like we can see this, that this is a neuron. Like suppose if I make one more neuron here, and these are the dendrites or something, don't mind the painting, it's just rough. So what they do is they receive the nerve impulses from the another neuron. Like this is the other neuron, this is the other neuron, and this neuron receives nerve impulses from this neuron, and it transmits them towards the cell body because it is attached to the cell body, it is the extension of the cell body. So it transmits them towards the cell body. Now that we know what are dendrites, now that we know what is cytin, what is the cytoplasm and the nucleus, now let's know what is exon. This is a large part. So what is it actually? So the exon is the conducting unit of the neuron arising from the cell body. The exon is a single long fiber that emerges from the cell body. What is it? It is a single long fiber that emerges from the cell body. And the distal end of the exon is branched, forming exon terminals. Like we can see this, that the distal end of the exon, this is the exon, and the distal ends of the exon is divided like this, like this, like this. So these are called the exon terminals. These are called the exon terminals. Each branch terminates into a bulb-like structure known as synaptic bulb. Like here we can see this, that there is a sort of bulb-like structure at the distal end of the exon terminals, which is called the synaptic bulb, which contains the neurotransmitters. We will discuss about a synaptic bulb also. Okay, so let me show you another picture related to this, then I'll let you know about this. Okay, so can you see this picture? What is it? It is the picture of a synaptic bulb. Like see, this is what? This is the nerve cell. And as I already told you that the exon is a single long fiber that emerges from the cell body. See, this is a single long fiber which emerges from the cell body. It is emerging from the cell body, means coming out, it is attached and coming out from the cell body. And at the distal end, what is the distal end? This. At the distal end of the exon is branched. It is branched, forming exon terminals. These sort of structures are the exon terminals. These like this, like this, like this. These all are exon terminals. Okay. Now each branch terminates into a bulb-like structure which is known as the synaptic bulb. Can you see the small projections in here, like this one? Bulb sort of structure like this, some sort of these structures. Can you see these structures? These are the synaptic bulb. The maximized image is this one. This is the maximized image. Okay, so synaptic bulb, this is a single synaptic bulb, and these synaptic bulb contain neurotransmitters. The red dotted structures, these structures are the neurotransmitters. Okay, and we can see the synaptic cleft and the neurotransmitters. This is the synaptic bulb. Okay, so the long exons are enveloped by a protective fatty covering which is called the myelin sheath. Now that we know the synaptic bulb, so we can see this. We can see the yellowish structure which is there. It is covering the exon. So what is it? It is like a sort of insulation. Okay, so long exons are enveloped by a protective fatty covering called the myelin sheath. Let me write it for you. It is the myelin sheath. Okay, so what is myelin sheath? It is the insulates or protect the exon, because they are single long fiber that emerge from the cell body and they need to be protected because they perform a very important task, and that is they transmit nerve impulses away from the cell body. Okay, Now that we know what is myelin sheath, now that we know what is axon, let's know about synapse. So the junction between two neurons, that is between the dendrites, these dendrites of one neuron, and the axon terminals of the immediately next neuron is called the synapse. Like you can see in this picture, this is a neuron and its dendrites are present here, and the axon terminals of the immediately next neuron, they are being connected in here, and the junction present between both of these is called the synapse. What is it called? It's called synapse. At the synapse, the neurotransmitter is released, which sets a new impulse in the dendrite of the next neuron. What does it do? At the synapse means here, at the synapse, the neurotransmitter, these neurotransmitters, we can see that there is opening. Synapses are present here. We know that synapses are present here, and they are having sort of openings from which the neurotransmitters are coming out. So at the synapse, the neurotransmitters are released, which sets a new impulse in the dendrite of the next neuron. Like we can see, it's opening here, so it transmits the new impulse in the dendrites of the next neuron. In this way, the nerve impulse is transmitted from one neuron to the other neuron in one direction only. That means it is yes, exactly, it is unidirectional. That means it can travel in only one direction. The impulses are sent in only one direction. Okay, so this is about the synapse. Let me repeat the entire thing which I told you about axon, because I know it's a bit confusing, but when you will learn about this, when you will study about this, you'll get to know, and it will be easy for you, inshallah. Okay, so just let me repeat. A neuron is basically the Okay, so as we know that this all is a bit confusing, but still, if you just need to you try to understand all of these things, then I am very sure that you will be able to get it. So let me just repeat the entire thing which we discussed in in this particular video. So I hope it will be easy for you to understand in the better way. Okay, so a neuron is the structural and the functional unit of the nervous system. It is made up of the cell body, which is called the cyton, and elongated projections called axon are present. And the cell body consists of cytoplasm and the nucleus. It gives out branched cytoplasmic projections, which are called the dendrites, for receiving stimulus and transmitting nerve impulse to the cyton. Then we discussed about axon. So the axon is the conducting unit of the neuron arising from the cell body. A protective fatty covering called the myelin sheath. This protective yellowish covering. Okay, you can see this yellow covering, insulation. This is called the myelin sheath. It envelops the long axons and provides insulation to the axon. And I forgot to tell you one more point, which is, this myelin sheath is made up of special cells which are called the Strand cells. Repeat after me, they are called the Strand cells. Strand cells. Let me write the spelling there. They are called the Strand cells. And one more thing, which is like we can see that there is spacing between the myelin sheaths. This is called, like in the stem, when we see the stem, so we have learnt about nodes, internodes. You might have learnt about nodes and internodes in a stem. In the similar way, we have node present in the axon also, because it resembles a stem. So in stems we have nodes. In the similar way, between the myelin sheath we have nodes, and these nodes are called the node of Renvia. Let me write the spelling for you. Nodes of Renvia. Nodes of Renvia. Okay. Now let's come back to what we were discussing. I was repeating whatever we studied. Okay, so The axon transmit nerve impulses away from the cell body, and the distal end of the axon is branched into axon terminals, these axon terminals, and that ends up in a bulb-like structure, these bulb-like structure, which is called the synaptic bulb. And the synaptic bulb contains neurochemicals called the neurotransmitters, as we saw in that picture, that those red structures, those red sort of structures which were present, they were called the neurotransmitters. And the junction between the two neurons, that is between the dendrites of one neuron and the axon terminals of the immediately next neuron, is called the synapse, as I showed you in the picture. So that's it for today. I hope you learned a lot from this video, and I hope I cleared all your doubts as well. But still, if you face any problem or if you have not understood anything, then please comment down below. I'll definitely reply. So stay tuned. We'll meet in the upcoming video very soon, inshallah. And we'll learn about a very new topic and very interesting as well, which is classification of neurons. We learned what is neuron. Now let's see what are the different types of neurons present in the nervous system. Okay, so stay tuned. We'll meet in the next upcoming video very soon, inshallah. So goodbye, take care, Allah Hafiz.